Ever get the feeling like history is only telling us half the story? Like we get the big headlines but miss out on the real human drama behind it all.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, today we're going to try and fix that. We're diving deep into a mission from the 1965 Indo-Pakistani War, something called Sky Force. Now, even if you're a bit of a history buff, you might not know all the details of this one.
It doesn't get as much attention as some of the other conflicts, that's for sure.
Right. But it was a pivotal moment, shaping the relationship between India and Pakistan for decades after. We're using a few different sources for this. Some first-hand accounts from pilots, military records, and even a recent film that brought this story to life.
The film, yeah, Skyforce. It's done a good job, I think, of making this history more accessible.
For sure. And what really grabbed me wasn't just the dogfights and aerial maneuvers, though those are definitely exciting.
Yeah, who doesn't love a good action sequence?
It's the people at the heart of it all. The pilots, the strategists, even folks on the ground caught in the crossfire. Their stories, their courage, that's what we're really digging into.
Absolutely. Those personal perspectives make all the difference.
So let's set the stage here. 1965. Tensions between India and Pakistan are already running high.
This wasn't just a border skirmish, there's a lot of history, a lot of baggage between these two nations.
Exactly. And a lot at stake. Now, one target in particular stands out in the sources, the Sargodha airbase. They describe it as a real fortress. What made this such a dangerous place to attack?
Oh, a few things. First off, this base was home to some of Pakistan's top-of-the-line fighter jets. We're talking the Star Strikers, known for their speed and how easily they could turn in the air.
Sounds like a nightmare to go up against.
Oh yeah, a real challenge for any pilot. On top of that, the base itself was incredibly well defended. Radar, anti-aircraft guns, you name it.
So, not exactly a walk in the park. And yet, India launches this daring mission, Sky Force, to take it out. The film portrays Wing Commander K.O. Ahuja, the leader of this mission, as almost larger than life. What impressed you about his leadership, especially in this situation?
Well, he was definitely brilliant tactically, but what really stuck with me was his ability to inspire those under his command, even when they were staring down, incredibly dangerous odds. There's this one moment in the film just before the attack where he's talking to his pilots, and it's not some big rousing speech, it's quiet, almost understated, but you can feel the confidence radiating from him.
So leading by example, kind of a quiet strength.
Exactly. He understood what was at stake, the risk of casualties, everything. But he didn't let that fear paralyze him, and that, I think, resonated with his men.
Makes you think about what real leadership looks like under pressure.
Absolutely.
But Ahuja wasn't the only one showing courage on this mission. The sources also highlight the story of a young pilot, Tabby. What makes his experience stand out in the context of Skyforce?
Well, to me, Tabby really embodies the idea of the unsung hero. He's this young guy, probably barely out of training, thrown into this incredibly intense situation, and yet he steps up, faces that danger head on.
A real testament to the fact that courage can come from anywhere, huh?
Exactly. And his story also reminds us that everyone involved in a conflict has their own story to tell. Not just the commanders, but the everyday soldiers, the pilots, the people whose names might not make the history books.
It's easy to forget that, especially when we're talking about big historical events.
Yeah, we tend to focus on the grand narrative. But Skyforce, I think, does a good job of bringing those individual experiences to the forefront.
Now, the film portrays Tabby as this sort of innocent, maybe even naive figure at times. Do you think that's accurate based on the other sources?
That's interesting. I wouldn't say naive exactly. Yes, his youth is emphasized, but the sources also show Tabby grappling with the realities of war. There's a scene, for example, where he sees the aftermath of an airstrike, and you can just see the weight of it hitting him. The emotional toll it takes, even on those who haven't been directly involved in the fighting.
It's that realization that war isn't just about strategy and tactics, but real human lives on the line.
Absolutely.
And Skyforce doesn't shy away from that. It gives us those thrilling action sequences, sure. But it also forces us to confront the personal costs of conflict.
Right. And I think that balance is what makes the film so effective. It's not just spectacle. It's about making those historical events feel real, relatable, even to people who've never experienced anything like that firsthand. It makes you think, how would I react in that situation?
So Skyforce gives us this glimpse into a pivotal mission from the 1965 war. We see the leadership that made it possible, the unsung heroes like Tabby who faced incredible risks, and the deeply human side of a conflict that's often overlooked.
And it makes you wonder, right? How does knowing these personal stories change the way we understand history? Does it make us more empathetic, more likely to question those simple narratives we're often given?
Definitely something to think about. Whether you're digging deeper into the 1965 war or any other historical event, those human stories are out there waiting to be discovered.
And they're worth seeking out.
Absolutely.